visit to Denver by Obama. People are saying that he's going underground or something.
Wait, let me see one thing really quick. Check this out. I'm going to add a screenshot. Why don't you give us the lowdown? What do you know?
I don't really know anything.
Well, tell us what you heard first.
Well, I had some friends that I wanted to go down to New York City to those protests and check that out. And I heard back that people think that there's maybe a comet or something that's going to hit the planet on the 27th, and Obama's going to Denver to hide out in the secret bunker underneath the airport. And I don't know, it just all seems kind of bizarre to me that would be happening.
Well, he wouldn't need to do that.
Right, don't they have a bunker at the White House?
Well, no. What they've got, they've got those. They've got their safe rooms, but, they've also got a train that goes right through the Capitol from the White House that goes straight out to Virginia to those mountain secure things. Right. They had that since the 50s.
Right. Yeah,
they've done walkthroughs. They've got more than, they've had those tunneling machines since the 1850s.
Yeah, have you ever seen the pictures on the internet of the atomic-powered tunneling machines, apparently?
You don't even know the kind of things that they've got, and God bless them.
Yeah, do they really have that? It's like,
listen to me. They've been having those coring machines, like that Jules Verne shit, Voyage to the Center of the Earth, since the 1850s. Crazy mad ones. You don't think it's crossed somebody's mind to, do some weird shit with that?
I don't know. What?
Cover your ass if you're in a fucking shouting match with Brezhnev or whatever. You're going to build some crazy space? Because we know there's all kinds of places where they've got, all over the world, where they've got, here, you and 3,500 of your buddies can just stay in here. They just opened one up in London and showed everybody, some crazy...
Hey, have you ever seen that thing? There's this cult in Italy that they built this giant underground city.
Sure.
That it's have you seen the pictures of it? It has, it's really ornately designed and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some of those websites. But anyways, going back to it, all kinds of mumbo jumbo is about to happen anyways. I don't see why. See, if the president was really going to go someplace, there's no way in hell you'd know about it.
Right.
If there was ever a situation, if you think that Bradley Manning guy, the fall guy for the WikiLeaks thing, was in some trouble, you get in some trouble for that right there.
Right.
That's just straight up.
Conspiracy theory, is he avoiding the comet Elenin? I don't even know what that comet is. People would see it coming too with a telescope, right? It's not like,
you know what though. There's all kinds of mumbo jumbo that you can see with telescopes. You can see the space platforms that they never talk about. You can see them almost with your naked eye sometimes, and nobody
on the moon
straight up just straight up above us. That you think that International Space Station is the only thing they got going?
I don't, man. I have friends with telescopes, right. Man, and there's people looking in the skies. There's a bunch of amateurs with telescopes that you can see shit like that.
Well, I've seen some videos of some pretty fucking far out shit.
Yeah, it makes me want to get a telescope and sit outside in the field.
Trust me, I've seen shit in the sky that they never talk about online.
Well, so have I.
But I watch them do 45-degree turns. I've seen it more than once, and just right in front of it, and nobody even says jack shit about it.
All right, listen to this, man. When I was, it was 1990.
Wait 1 second before we get into changing the subject. So, we know that a bunch of shit's going down, big time. So, anyways, there's some weird stuff. Just putting it out there that, that Anonymous is going to, declare war on the NYPD and all this other stuff, and Wall Street, and all that kind of stuff is like a pretext for a bunch of crap. They can blame anything on anybody.
But it's, what's interesting, too, though, is that, when they were I mean, there's not that many protesters down
That's not what
there.
I'm talking about. I'm talking about digital, full on.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
Like
sure.
I'm talking about Sabu's Twitter going. Now's the time for
That's
everybody to get some laughs right now. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Let's say that again.
I'm talking about Sabu's Twitter and stuff like that going. Now's the time for everybody to have some laughs. Come one, come all. Like,
oh yeah,
like going, let's go for it right now. Let's bust a move with this stuff. So anyways, so say like the worst thing that could happen is parts of the internet are paused, or maybe the whole thing. Who knows? Goes right along simultaneously with we only have this window of a couple more days where they can attack Iran unless they want to do it really weird.
well, there are, that Stuxnet virus.
That ain't the half of it.
Yeah, I know. We've known about that for a while, but now they're coming out and, the major media saying that, yeah, the Americans really did shut down those centrifuges with the virus.
But that wasn't the big deal last year. I think it was before your time with you watching us. There was some bigger stuff that was in the press for a couple of days over here in Europe about. There was all kinds of mumbo jumbo going on. Because I was just talking to my manager via Skype about some stuff that I knew about last year when I was tripping out. But I'll tell you one thing. See, evidently, like, it kicked off in North Korea.
What did
last fall? Well, first they shelled that island, right?
Right.
And South Korea just went, fuck you all the way to those guys, and rightly so. So we, the U.S. and some allies decided they were going to do this naval drill. They said it was already planned. And this is after the North Koreans torpedoed that ship supposedly and cut it in half and all this other stuff, right? So China said, no way can you do a military maneuver, not anymore in the South China Sea. And America just said, fuck you. And then it completely heated up. And then so supposedly they whipped out some big bombers, right? This is what I remember. Supersonic bombers, and just went right for Taiwan.
Who, China did?
Yeah. And then, so check this out. So then supposedly, like they scrambled the Taiwanese fighters or whatever. Those got blown right out of the air immediately. And Taiwan fired some missiles, and supposedly those missed. And that was a big deal. Those ones, supposedly those ones missed. And I think it was, then they blamed that in Europe. Supposedly some missiles were fired at Iran too. At those reactors, right? And what I had read over here, straight up off of Yahoo, was that somebody hacked into that. And when I read that, they said what they were claiming in Europe was an international group of hackers, including Russia and Germany and all these people, out of Berlin, did some mumbo jumbo that affected the outcome of that. And when I heard that part of it, I said, part of this might be true right now, and part of it might not be true, because what they were implying was our cruise missiles, the U.S. cruise missiles, were hacked.
Oh yeah, sure.
And that's not possible. Only from the inside, because those are like, that's like a data card.
Well, there's a concern now that all the hardware, all the circuitry that we've purchased from abroad could be infected.
Well, they know that. We know that because I tried to tell everybody with one of my little psychic mystic man things. I said the ghost.
All these computers could have kill switches in them.
Well, we already know that because that's what we did to Iraq and all these countries over and over again. We've been doing that when in 1967 and 73, I guess 73 war, when Sadat and those guys, when they launched that tank attack across the Sinai, and they had like 1,000 of those Soviet tanks and stuff, the Suez Canal, when the Egypt and Israel got into it,
right?
There was a situation where beyond those tanks, there was like the whole Israeli flank of tanks were charging right down for that area, and all the tank commanders were like, "What's this string following over us?" And the Egyptians had fired all these anti-tank wire-guided missiles, and every single one of them hit because they weren't calibrated right. So they're aiming dead on for the tank that's coming right at them. And the Israelis were like, "What the fuck just happened?" I've heard like those guys talk, those desert tank guys talk. What? And they were like, "It was just we were covered in these little wires, and we were like, what the fuck just happened?
Huh.
It was like 1,000, you know what I mean? Missiles fired right at you, and every single one was off. And we've been doing that forever. We sell people these battleships, every single thing, and it's just like complete home right into it. And all those missile defenses.
And those things a joke. They don't really, they just want people to believe that we're, the potential for war.
Okay, but anyways, what I'm going to tell you though is they said that Israel and America or something. This is what I was hearing. This is like mainstream. Just for a day, they fired on Iran, and that those missiles missed, and then they blamed it on these hackers who said that's not the way to do it. The best way to do it is this other way. But you guys all need to chill out. And I didn't believe that necessarily, all of it. But then, only because I thought there was more to it. So then the next thing that was really weird is on the Chinese news. They showed film of the Chinese shooting down 2 of our jets in that skirmish that they had in the China Sea. And then I read VOA like 2 hours later. VOA was commenting on it, and they're like, these guys, the Chinese national news, the PLA just came on and showed a film, but then they just why did they show a scene from Top Gun? They just edited in some video. They've done this before. The VOA, the Voice of America, just dismissed it 100% and said, why are they going on the news and saying they just shot down 2 of our planes, and they show a clip from Top Gun?
Well, aren't we sending?
So you know what? No, but listen. So you know what America just said to the rest of the world? They're saying what you saw wasn't even real. That was just a scene from. They're just playing a scene from Top Gun. They're just showing our movie on the Chinese news, saying they shot down a plane.
I didn't hear about this, so I mean, I can't.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: they completely zipped it right off the internet the next minute. All the info was gone from Yahoo. So weird. We live in such strange times. There's all kinds of stuff, man. All that WikiLeaks stuff. It got so heavy last year that they made 4 million U.S. people. They made when it was happening, I read it was 3 million. They gave 3 million people top secret security clearance to be able to do damage control. And now I heard it's over 4 million.
What do you mean, like internet people that just put propaganda on the internet?
No, that when you come in contact with this information, you've got the passport that you're allowed to see it. If they've said you're allowed to see it, you're allowed to see it. Otherwise, it's punishable by a crime. It's like stealing or treachery. But really crazy shit. And then so that WikiLeaks released the cipher, and I heard on BBC when they were talking about this whole crazy shit. This goes back into tunneling. They were talking about Norway and Sweden has some internet hub, and it's underground, and they were talking about the density of the rock, and they said we just captured that cipher, but we're going to release it back into when the key to the WikiLeaks security file, they said they were going to release it last year, and everybody was waiting, and then I was listening to World Service, and one of the BBC guys was down there in the Swedish thing. He said, we've got it. It's in a loop or whatever. We've got it. We know it's in this data packet. See what I'm saying?
Right.
We've got the cipher, but we're just gonna let this whole thing completely we're gonna let this thing rip, and we're just telling everybody we're just the postman. We're not getting involved in this politics, but this is gonna be embarrassing for everybody. And the U.S. said this is gonna be embarrassing, but we'll get over it. And that's when the fake Arab Spring thing kicked off, because then they were like, Gaddafi's son works with the MI6 guys and all this shit, and people started shooting each other. Then I started hearing news that was so insane right before the riots or these fake protests. So insane. That's when the Tunisian guys, that chick took like 3,500 tons of gold and tried to land in Germany with it. I mean, these people were splitting because the shit hit the fan. The security service, it was like who's working with the CIA, who isn't. It hit the fan everywhere, and they released all the Swiss bank accounts. They'd hacked that shit supposedly, and it was just like a real nightmare last fall. See, I thought it was going to be like full on World War III shit, but it turns out like the only thing I could think of was that everybody needed to chill out and go back to 2008 and just think about it for a couple of months. And it seems like that's what they did because the guy from China flew directly over to the U.S. and met. It was unscheduled, you know? He was with Obama and Joe Biden. They were talking about all this shit. A lot of shit. So what I think is like some really interesting shit's about ready to go down.
Yeah, we're supposedly sending a bunch of weapons over to Taiwan soon.
Well,
big purpose.
Well, we said that we were going to upgrade the the F-16 AB system up to a CD system, which has basically what you could do with that is, you know, you can track multiple targets without turning your head. See, you can like aim. It's some crazy shit with the guidance system and stuff. So you can fly, you're just looking straight ahead, but you can aim at shit like through your visor, and the radar tracking thing on it's supposed to be insane. You know, it's all old news. But the weird thing is like what I just saw today, what I see is going down right this afternoon, is like I think Petraeus and the CIA guy. Oh, there they are. They're going to strafe your house. Sounds like.
Right. Exactly.
Check this out. What I saw. I think they're getting ready to split Pakistan.
Oh, they're going to go into Pakistan?
Well, I think what's going to happen.
In Pakistan.
I think that it's going to be the current government and the security service versus the military. And I think that what the end game is going to be that they're going to take away they're going to capture their nukes. They're going to cause some kind of political strife, and just they're going to be in there because that's going to be part of the Iran thing. That's right. That's the gate we're going to use to go right into Iran. We've already got all of our shit there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine whose son is in the military, and he told me that we have secret military bases in North Korea. And I said that that's insane. Like, that can't be true. And he says that, you know, we do. We have a base down in like in the woods somewhere or something. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something that I could get whacked for, but what I really think, I think Russia's playing a really, really interesting game now.
With what?
I think they're playing a really interesting game. I think China's going to get it, but I think Russia's pretending like they're not down with what's going on.
Yeah, well, you know, the Chinese are, severely, they're affecting the world's markets by their devalued money, and they have essentially slave labor in their country, and the rest of the world, these corporations are using China, but they can't keep up forever. People in the Western world are gonna.
What I'm saying is, Russia doesn't need anything from anybody, but they don't want to be sacrificed one more time for all this bullshit. Because this. You know what? I'll tell you the truth of this matter. The situation isn't China's problem. It's the problem with capitalism. So,
yeah, but no, it's not. Capitalism works if the people.
No, it doesn't. It fucking failed.
Well, no, because it failed.
It's not capitalism anymore. It failed because it failed exactly, not communism, but it failed because what Marx and Engels said was absolutely true, and everybody who's intelligent right now knows that. Not saying that I'm a commie, but everybody. If you read something like, any of these intellectual magazines that have to do with international relations or anything. Man, a lot of people are taking a look at what he said. It just means they got to redo it. They got to tweak it. But it can't exist with the current scoreboard. It can never be this way.
Right. So the gigs run up, definitely. But that doesn't, I believe in the free market.
Well, the free market is China's got all the fucking money. And
everybody that's playing in the system has to be playing fairly. There can't be, somebody with the chips stacked in their corner.
See, but don't believe the hype, because you know what? It depends on who you talk, man. Germany's going to talk about them getting fucked. And, every single one of these countries is going to talk about how they're getting an unfair deal. And America's rigged all the markets and the derivatives thing and changed the laws. And, you got
countries need to adopt more of like an
what
isolation.
What I'm saying is,
economy.
What I'm saying is China can work and can pay for whatever they want to buy. We aren't going to make our straws anymore. So, it's not exactly a level playing field coming from both sides. See what I'm saying? You can't really go, well, China's rigging the currency and hotting everything up and doing all this stuff, and now they're selling T-bonds like crazy and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at it realistically, man. Now I'm going to have to qualify these statements. You got to ask yourself, I don't have to answer it, but I'm just going to tell you, you got to ask yourself, who do you want to win? Because the reality is we're actually at war, but it's one of those situations where two guys will just say, are looking at each other going, hey, man, I don't want to fight. But they're also looking around for that exit or something to pick up to smack each other in the head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, you hear these things like carrier killer, not only Russia, but it's getting really, 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 really common to hear that phrase, carrier killer.
Right.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, China has all those new.
Well, who's got fucking carriers?
Well, they do. We do too.
Well, that's the thing, is we do.
I think they didn't unveil they have like a stealth carrier now, China.
Doesn't matter. We got meteor guns. You know what that is? See that? You read about that satellite coming down? Well, we've got fucking tungsten blocks in space with a jet motor on them that you could just like direct at anything you want, and it'll be just like a size of a bump.
Oh, they already have stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's like a satellite, right? But it's got a rocket on it, and all it does is goes straight down wherever you want, and it's like as big as a bus, and it'll just like turn a crater, it would destroy any city into molten.
And you could blame it on a meteor because people don't know about stuff.
That's why it's called
the
meteor gun.
Jesus, that's bad.
It would just destroy any bunker or anything. It'll just make a giant hole in the ground.
A big crater.
Just turn that all into molten. They got all kinds of stuff, but China was trying to fix that situation by blowing up one of their own satellites and raining junk into the mumbo jumbo that we had above them, making a field of debris.
Right.
And that really happened too. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what goes down. But it's all about PACCOM, baby. You see, right now they're just skirmishing in Africa, left, right, and center. But that's not where the money is. See, the whole thing is pivoting around that pipeline that goes straight through Afghanistan. You know who finished their pipeline is Iran finished their pipeline through Afghanistan.
Really?
Yeah. So the one that was supposed to be going the opposite direction to India, right? That one didn't get finished. That's why we're still there. They got to defend that thing. That's what that whole thing is all about. That whole country, that fight.
Sure, I agree with that. Yeah.
It's because in India in India they can't burn cow shit for 1 billion people, and that's how they do it, right? So they got to do something to heat all those homes.
I've heard similar sort of thinking about.
It's all about gas. That's why Enron built 10.
Iraq control the water. It's about controlling the water in the Middle East. That's
a big river, right?
Right, it is. It's the river. You know what I mean? That's it.
That's the old one, right?
Right. Yeah, the cradle of humanity.
So now let's go back to the 27th. Like Anonymous put out that thing saying we're gonna go ahead and wreak havoc. Well, anybody could have said that because Anonymous just means you don't know who it is, right?
Right.
So they said, yeah, attack the biggest police force in America in the biggest city. Well, that's a declaration of war right there. You start messing with the New York NYPD, right?
Yeah, a lot of it though is Anonymous though it's pretty loose, but there is some kind of organization to it, and simply just making phone calls into a precinct and shutting down their phone lines.
There's all these people that just demand internet liberties, right? All these countries, even Germany's telling Facebook to get the fucking like button out of some of their states and all this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you just dismiss all those arguments? How do you stop everybody else in the rest of the world from having a say-so? You just make an imaginary group of people, even if some of them are real, and you make people demand it. You said, hey, they shut down MasterCard last winter too.
Right. Sure.
right? And Visa, they fucked that all up, right? But
Right.
you didn't even read in the newspaper. I could talk about it now, but I wasn't talking about it when it was going on because that's like yelling.
Yeah, but that may not be the case, though.
Wait a second. Hold on,
now.
buddy. Check this out, though. Didn't you know when the whole Ireland bailout thing went south, and they ended up signing the New Deal, when people were saying they were gonna, have to pay for future generations, they're gonna have to pay 40,000 euros a piece, even your great grandchildren that aren't born. They said that about Ireland to bail it out. All these people were like,
yeah.
Well, the big news was they hacked into every single bank machine, the ATM, and those things, when you typed in 10, it was skipping out hundreds.
See, I didn't hear that. I would have.
Well, that's why you don't put that on the news. You don't, because that's why I didn't mention it. But I did confirm it with one of my Irish friends. See, but that's irresponsible when that happened, because that undermines people's confidence in the currency and stuff. So that's like financial terrorism. See?
Right.
Because then people make a run for the banks and everything gets all screwed up. But when people find out internationally that a secure banking system could be just completely jacked like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just a denial of service attack that's just like overwhelming a website, but literally just by hook or by crook unzipping that stuff, then you're dealing with some real naughty stuff. So going back to the 27th, it'd be like super irresponsible. Like, Obama's got to do whatever he's got to do, right?
Right.
So it doesn't matter if people are worried about UFOs or whatever. Realistically, if some weird kind of mumbo jumbo is going down, then it could be anything. They could be planning this military attack, because we know the window for Iran is just, the days for talk are over.
Yeah, definitely something's going to happen.
They've been gearing up for months.
But so, I mean, you think other countries are going to get involved with that because they want to control
Well,
Iran?
they've said traditionally,
going to defend Iran.
China has said they're going to throw down if they put the theater there. China and Russia said don't do this. But Russia was announcing last year that they were going to start renting out apartments and flats and leasing them in Chernobyl.
We built the first search engine for the real world, the Dodge Journey.
Really saying between the lines
and
there?
Then we left 3 somewhere out there.
It's not going to matter about that little bit of
if you can find one,
residual radiation,
you can have one.
Because it's going to be everywhere, so you might as well get these.
I think Chernobyl, though, hasn't it? It's like fairly clean, actually. I think the environment's actually repaired itself there.
Come on.
It's that radioactive. I mean,
come on.
There's been an amazing.
You're not allowed to live there.
Apparently,
you're not allowed to live there. Few people do, but
Right.
Listen, when the news is saying that, you know what they're saying, though. Really, they're saying it's not going to fucking matter because you're going to have that much residual after this attack. You're going to have that much residual radiation everywhere. So they were saying, we're just going to fucking start leasing out these condos and stuff there because it's not going to fucking matter.
How are they going to extract the oil from it if it's all radioactive and stuff? They can't,
That won't even matter. They'll do that just like they do anything.
And what are they even? They're just fighting over the oil there? That's all it. What's the
control of it? I heard the big one is the Caspian Sea, and they've got that surrounded. That's why they're always fighting in Georgia and all that stuff, because Azerbaijan, that's the first place they started pumping oil since the 1850s there. Right, those islands right off the coast. But evidently that's what's called a honeypot, and it goes all the way down this geological formation underneath the Caspian Sea.
Right.
But I think...
I can't use so much oil.
Evidently it's a crossroads. Some kind of crazy crossroads.
Sure, people have been fighting over forever.
But I think a lot of it, there's multiple reasons. There's that part of it, right? But then there's a hegemony of the new thing. Like... Iran has these missiles, right? And they're going, well, they're mining uranium cake, right? And I'm not giving anybody any idea that they can't figure out anyways. But the concept is if you put, like, any kind of this refined radioactive material, right? You don't even need an atomic bomb.
Yeah, right.
You just need particles and make it blow, even if it gets shot down by, like...
People, make people sick.
Right. So we don't want that to happen, right? Anybody that would kind of just threaten that, Like, it doesn't matter if you disagree with Israeli politics or whatever it is, right? Zionist expansion or whatever you want to say. It's like, that's like some...
I am an artist and the mother of 3 beautiful girls. I believe that my very best painting will never compare to the satisfaction I get being a mother. Like, well, my name is Cassandra Barney, and I'm a Mormon.
Our hype, our propaganda.
You know, the other thing, though, like Iran, they're constantly, you know, they're trying to get the nuclear program running, and they keep saying that it's for peaceful energy production. And, you know, that could be entirely true, you know. I don't know, nuclear power is probably not a good thing.
Well,
you know about thorium reactors?
Yeah, I've heard about a lot of that stuff. You know, the guy in Australia.
Really amazing. It's like the whole development of the nuclear power industry came about because
weapons.
They needed weapons, right? And,
so it makes all that dirty byproducts that they refine one more time.
It's a horrible system for producing electricity using nuclear reactions, and but thorium reactors, they have this element called thorium that's radioactive, and they put it in a salt solution, a liquid salt solution, and it heats up, and at the end of the day, you can turn the reactor off, and you could actually have these reactors like in your backyard. You know, a small reactor. You could have a reactor, for a neighborhood or something. And no one ever pursued this technology simply because the nuclear industry needed weapons-grade uranium. And it's really sad because there's enough thorium on the planet to, power everything for millions and millions of years. And the debris or the byproduct of the thorium reactor is fairly non-toxic. It can be stored real easy. It's not really that radioactive. It's not that dangerous.
That's a loaded one, right? Fairly non-toxic.
Well, it's safer. I mean, it's really not that radioactive. It doesn't heat up. It could be put in storage and safely stored. It's much safer than what we have now.
You know, like a lot of people say, like somebody who's in psyops or something, if they're watching us, they're gonna kind of be like, agree with some things and not agree with other ways that we say it or whatever. Because it seems like, now I'm qualifying a lot of things again, about feelings and idealism and what things seem like and what they appear to be. But, it seems like they want a lot of people to be dumb and happy and shopping. That's why the TV and everything's the way it is. It's not because technology. It's not because there ain't good ideas out there. It seems like the way that it is the way it's wanted to be. Now, having said that, you know what I mean? Because I travel everywhere and the radio sucks. So it's obvious to me, it's not because there isn't people out here in the world that enjoy listening to all kinds of interesting stuff that they don't exist, because I know that's not true, because here we are having a intelligent chat, right?
Right.
But for some reason it's not on CNN. But anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing about the thorium reactors. I kind of looked into that a little bit.
Well, check this out, though.
But you know that they don't even teach that type of nuclear physics to people going for their PhDs in nuclear physics. That people don't even get taught this information about liquid salt reactors. It's amazing, and it's they're building them now. The Chinese and the Indians are going to build. What's going to happen is they're going to have to build these kind of things because we're running out of resources, and the option isn't to
see now, but
millions of people to think in the herd.
You need to think about another thing though. With all this global warming and stuff, like absolutely, like to change everything. Think about this. There goes a certain amount of personal freedom. See, every single one of these laws, they're going to have to demand that you do this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like
democracy is dead as a fucking democracy is dead as a fucking doornail. Democracy is dead as a fucking doornail.
Yeah, but
there's another reason why. There's another reason why, because when a country has as much debt as all these Western countries do, you're not the one calling the shots anymore. See, because you got to pay back that that in and of itself, that debt dictates what you can and what you can't do. So it doesn't matter if everybody votes that we go build a Mars base. It ain't gonna happen.
Unless the bankers, want it to happen. Well, how do they do that? They just make money up and say that this is, how does all, I don't even know how any of that really works. It's very confusing.
We're going to see what the end result of this is. They're going to attempt to do it. It has to happen very soon. See? So you're going to see the punchline. You're going to see the end of the story. One way or another. The
European Union, the Euros, they're going to get rid of that.
Well, let's stop with that for 1 second. Check it out. The European Union, man, 3,500 years of Western civilization. That was the best idea. Their best thinking. Got all these guys to do that, and it failed.
Yeah, look what's happened. It's only lasted.
They had a better plan. You would know about it, wouldn't you?
Right.
Either that or this is part of the plan.
Well, this is part of the plan to make. Here's another thing, man.
You got to consider it's one or the other, man. There ain't no Tinkerbell. There ain't no fucking Santa Claus. So either they got another plan, or that you've just seen the best they had fail.
All right. What about like the New World Order and like one global currency and stuff like that?
Well, it already exists to a certain extent, but now
why isn't that a bad? That to me, like that could be a good idea. Like,
well, people are going to demand it when this market finishes crashing. People are going to demand it. But the weird thing is like
it could be a good thing though. One world.
Here's the problem. Are you ready for the problem? Here's the big problem. Yeah. So God is dead, right? Now we're just dealing with man as the custodian, right? And look what we have. Look about it just in the 50 years they've been up in space or whatever. Look what you got as a giant, big fucking mess floating around the planet. All hitting each other, making more mess, right? So think about it. Now go back to your all the one thing. And that was the brightest fucking minds on the planet, right? All they did was make it a fucking toilet. So now think about it as all one thing. And tell me, have you seen it? I mean, have you seen any evidence of the way? Like, look at fucking Congress trying to do anything. Have you seen any evidence of some kind of something, some kind of civic mindedness? Step up and just fucking go, this is the way it is.
There's good people. There's good people working in the government, definitely.
You know what? You should know. You know it. You know it by its fruits, right? It's just like I'm not saying there's not good people working in the government. We are the government, but check this out. I'm just saying, right? Where are these shining examples?
Right.
Maybe
God isn't really dead, though. I'm hoping God's not dead. That would be awful.
You know exactly what I was talking about, though, don't you?
Right.
Okay. So that you understand, right? It's so easy to get caught up in something. And go, well, we got distracted. We had to deal with that bad guy Saddam Hussein, but that ain't the half of it. So. And you know that people could do anything.
No, they have to control
Saddam Hussein didn't prevent FEMA or the National Guard from helping fucking Katrina victims out. Right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason. All the king's horses and all the king's men. Whatever. But there's just that's just one little drop of piss in the ocean. Somalia, everything.
Yeah,
But the reason why
we do about it then we don't really do anything then, right? It's just
they're gonna make their move. I hate to tell you, you don't even have to the first thing you got to know is a lot of the mumbo jumbo that people are talking about it. People got to organize, they got to motivate, they got to do this and they got to do that. Man, a lot of these giant fears, this stuff already happened so fucking long ago. It happened when Nixon signed, when Rockefeller and this guy signed over off the gold standard. It happened. All these things happened so long ago. The EU was in the 50s, Club of Rome meetings. That should have happened so long ago. That there was a decision about how to work towards something else. It happened so long ago. It happened before I was born and when I was 6. So all this total information. all this stuff, it's already happened. It's already here. Everybody's in the grid. You know, so the next thing is it's like this kind of controlled collapse / switchover is what we're seeing happen.
Right.
Because people get into these situations where it's the only decision they can make. So the rest of the thing, you're going to see a lot of people going back to the feels like and seems like in their idealism. You're going to see people make reactions, and that's going to cause reactions. So when people start rioting because they're like in Greece, when you see that, if you saw that stuff kick off in New York or someplace, you're going to see like all kinds of crazy shit. So all it takes in the name of that Occupy Wall Street is like one lunatic to pull some weird shit for whatever reason. An agent provocateur, right?
Oh yeah,
definitely. And you're gonna
people that are involved with that are, well, I mean, you know, they're aware of that.
It's
sure.
a mob though. You don't have any control over who
Right.
steps in there. I'm gonna give you an example. I could go down to a photocopy shop and I can make up a bunch of handbills that say, let's protest and stand up for like white heritage, right? And make another stack that say, let's stand up against these neo-fascists here, right? And then go put them out in 2 areas of town and get all the people to show up at one place, right? At one plaza or something, right? And then I could just toss a mocktail cocktail at any direction I want, and the other side would go, they're throwing firebombs at us and attack each other, and the police would waste everybody, and it would just be like ugly. Anybody could do that shit anywhere. We live in a crazy world, and that's the way things get done. You don't want to see any of that shit. That's why that's the farthest place you want to be is away from is fucking someplace down by Wall Street, because you can't imagine. There's only a few YouTubes getting out of that stuff, right? About them just like, now they got these big nets. The police just run like it's like this
right
this wall. They run and they get you up against the wall and they spray you and take you away in a van.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything yet. They brought out all those microwave cannons and shit.
Did they have those out? I heard them talking about it.
Well, they've got them.
They've
got them. And the NYPD is totally funny. They're just like, we don't even have tear gas in the NYPD. Of course not. They got fucking. It's called something else. I mean, you just call it tear gas because you don't know the real name. CX gas. They got all that. Right. They're just the police chief went on the news and just said, we don't even. It's ridiculous. We don't even have tear gas. Why is there spraying people's faces with pepper spray, making them cry from the gas? So I don't even. You know, it's just like semantics,
they just move
right?
to the country then. That's what I gotta do.
Well, we're just gonna see all this stuff go down, you know. But the weird there's some sides to it, you know. There's like, you know, like Germany's completely getting blackmailed, so we're gonna see a big change coming up.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I wonder how the European Union's gonna fall apart real soon, just unless I'm
under the impression it already.
A $2 trillion bailout right now, which that's.
Yeah, but you know what they already did? The Fed already said you guys can have as much money as you want because you know what? That's a declaration of war against.
Yeah, the American people aren't going to put up with that forever.
No, you don't understand what's going on, buddy. Check this out. China's been selling our government bonds, right? They got rid of all that shit. Okay, so they got rid of all that shit. So the Fed started buying its own bonds. That was last week. But then Geithner said, you guys can just, Japan, all of our allies basically, you guys can just take as much money as you need. So refloating all the capital banks. So basically, that's it. This is fucking war. So they just pulled, the Fed just pulled just the same as what the National Socialists did. They said, we're not worried about that debt and that there's no money. It's a worldwide depression. Check this out. We're building an army and we're doing this. We're going on tour. That's totally what they're doing right now.
Shit. It's bad.
But the weird thing about it is they're not going, fuck you, we're coming after you bankers and you other people, you gypsies or whatever, you know, Zionists or whatever. They're turning it right back around. They're going, we're coming after all the rest of you guys. So I see that they've got China surrounded. See, Russia, right by itself, here's the interesting thing about Russia. They don't need jack shit from anybody. They got so much fucking resources and technology or whatever they want. They don't need to trade with anybody. They could live with some people dying. They don't care. You know, like if their crops failed. They're not too worried about it because they're selling tracts of land. But you know what I mean?
They have a lot of gas up in Siberia.
They got shit that they could trade. They're not even worried about it.
Well, there's enough resources on the planet for everybody.
Right now what they're worried about is...
People live way beyond...
But you don't understand. What Russia's worried about right now is everything that we pay, every single money coming from the euro, from anything, it's fake money. It's not backed up. So that's what they're bummed out about. So they have to pay in real money.
I don't know what real money is.
Well, you know how it works? You know how it works? You know how it works?
I really don't. I'd like you to explain how all that works because I don't really understand.
They trade real oil and real gas.
Right.
They trade something really tangible. Right?
To keep their currency at their value.
No,
still can't understand that. It's hard for me to
Well, we're paying with fake money that's not worth anything. It's not backed up by anything. See, we're not trading them. We're not trading them like machines for this gas or anything.
Right.
Or wheat. Or iron ore or something. You know?
Right.
Macintosh computers, whatever. Trade them nothing, and they keep just printing up money. So if you think about the debt, when Obama and those guys and the Republicans go, we got to cut this deficit, we're going to close down the government, all that shit, right? And the Fed just turned around in 1 second and goes, you guys can borrow, and I think it was 1.4 trillion was the first, they just grabbed that. The European Central Bank said, okay, thanks. And Japan grabbed some. So it was like, any cuts that you can imagine they made that were supposed to be over 10 years, that whole concept of reducing that thing, it's nothing. They're not going to pay back that debt. They're not going to honor those bills to China or nothing. That's what I think.
Well, China's going to flip out then, right?
It already happened. I think what America has said is just like...
I'm going to have to look up that thing about Taiwan. There was actually American planes were shot down.
No, America said that it was bullshit.
Well, right.
That's a part of it that I didn't believe. Because I believe that because I heard a bunch of hints. I think that there was like some serious shit's been going on. I think it's still serious, but they're trying to be like as cool as cucumbers and be as cool as possible with a lot of this stuff. I think there's a bunch of mumbo jumbo that's went down in France. So all kinds of weird shit has gone down since last year, since last fall. And I think that, that we're in for it's going to get crazy so soon.
Well, I got to get out of here, man.
I don't think there's anywhere to go. Because I remember I was talking about that before. I was talking about how, like...
we'll live in a cabin somewhere, man.
See, that's what you say, but I was just out in the forest, up at the farm. And it just occurred to me, I was like, I wonder how long it took the Russians to knock on every single one of these Germans' homes right after they rolled through Germany. Like after they took half of Berlin.
Right.
And 200 kilometers beyond it. How long do you think it took the police, and the newly formed DDR to knock on every single person's door? Because where this farm is, there's 10 houses on the edge of a lake, and each one has acres and acres of farm connected to the backyard, and they're all up against each other around a little road. And the Russian truck pulled up in this house that I was staying in, and they had all the people from the 10 houses outside. They said, "Get outside." They just walked up to this lady that owned the house, her brother, and just shot him right in the head.
When was this? In World War II?
Yeah, it was right after, it was when they got that far, when they took half of Germany. But all they did was they just made everybody stand outside the farmhouses together in between these 10 houses, and they just shot this one guy right in the head. And they said, "We don't want any trouble with you people, motherfuckers." And they just got back in their truck and went driving down towards Furstenberg.
That's depressing.
They did it to every single group of houses.
I'm moving down to Ecuador, and I guess Carrera was just in New York City, and my wife was telling me that I don't know if Bloomberg he went on record saying that Carrera wasn't even welcome in the U.S. or in his city or something. I like Carrera though. I think he's pretty cool.
Wow. Well, Bloomberg doesn't have any say-so if the guy's going to the UN.
Right, but he said that he kind of put him in. He lumped Carrera into the same sort of category as the guy from Iran and Chavez.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting about Ecuador? Carrera passed some laws where they want to make the country more self-sufficient, and so now 70% of the products consumed in Ecuador are produced in Ecuador, which I think that's pretty cool. Trying to remove themselves from the global fray as much as possible.
But
they have oil. They have
but it's not going to go down like that, in the big picture.
Yeah, there's a lot of Chinese people in Ecuador.
See, you were on to what I saw. You were closer to the mark when you were alluding to the ghost in the machine. See, that's the only way it's going to go.
What do you mean?
The defects internal.
Oh, you're talking about like shutting the system down, like
shuts itself down. I'm under the understanding it shuts itself down.
It's going to just stop, like everything will. I mean,
it's the random element, my man. It's the random element. This is the only dance there is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's definitely people who talk about that.
Look at the allegories. Look at all the allegories, like even the Tower of Babel. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's always that one thing. The ghost in the machine. That's why they put that movie The Matrix out. It has nothing to do with like teaching you to be a revolutionary. It's to get everybody to spot the revolutionaries. It's exactly the opposite, man. Those guys are in a think tank. I know what those books are about. You got to remember, like when people read fucking Orwell books and they're like, "Yeah, this is revolutionary. You better read 1984." Except every 10th grader in the United States reads it. If it was fucking a revolutionary book, then they wouldn't dare teach it to their students in school, would they? As required reading. Not a chance. It's how you identify the oddball, like Fahrenheit 451, the Ray Bradbury book. There's one point where the old lady's like, the firemen burned down that guy's house or burned the contents out, and Montag goes back to like talk to somebody on the street, and Montag's like, Where did the girl that lived in that house and her uncle go? And the lady's kind of like Bev, who's on the show, and she's kind of thinking, she's like, they were so strange. They were so different, these people. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, look around you. And every house has a television aerial except the house that the police just raided. Right?
Right.
So they knew that those guys were off the grid, so to speak. Because they didn't have a fucking aerial. And the same's going to be true. The same's going to be true for the cell phones. It's going to be obvious so soon. Like probably already is obvious.
What, people that don't have cell phones?
That's right. That's why they're already making that new money thing where you just swipe your cell phone. But it's going to be so obvious that you don't have a record and you aren't.
Yeah, but it'll be like the old guy down the street that doesn't have a TV. That's not It's okay.
Well, they know about that guy because they're either hitting hitting him for capital gains tax, right? Because he can't have a bank, or they're paying his Social Security. So they already got that guy.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't have a cell phone, man. I have one, but I don't have
I don't use them either, man. I have a tendency to destroy those things.
No one ever calls me anyway, so it's all right.
But you're not afraid, are you?
What's that?
You're not afraid of any of this mumbo jumbo, are you?
No, not at all. I think it's interesting. It's all just interesting. I'm afraid of the suffering it creates in people's minds, the mental strife that this page is interesting because of the logo, the logo. Mm-hmm. He who fears death, and all this is our whole culture is just fear based and everything. And
hey, we're no dummies. Look, it's on my arm. I got
Yeah,
tattoos.
I don't have any tattoos or anything. Maybe I'll get that.
No, but I mean, I got a patch right here on my arm. You didn't see it. I even got the patch. I mean,
yeah, that's cool. I need to order some stuff.
Yeah, we're all the way. We're all the way down.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sad how people don't need to submit to that fear-based reality.
Well,
and a lot of the problems we have in the world is because of that. That the fear of death. My dad always used to say that ultimately what we're all dealing with is the fear of death, and that's where all this shit comes from. And I don't know. I mean, that's kind of seems true.
You know, like about racism, like when it in the context of African American racism, but it stands true for other things. There's a lot of there's xenophobia, right, and that kind of stuff. But there's a whole other angle on the racism thing. But you know what the root of that is, right? Racism, full on racism.
I mean, the root of it.
You know what it's based on, don't
you? Difference, people that are different.
No, that's xenophobia. That's xenophobia. That's something different, but it does manifest itself in types of racism.
There's certain groups that believe they're superior to others.
No, but the racism thing. Do you know what the root of that is? We're going to use African Americanism as an example, but I'm going to. Do you know what the root of it is?
I'd like to hear your.
Well, those guys are big, right? And
African Americans?
That's right. But we'll just think about that's why they were brought. The ones that were brought that way. They're big,
right?
And they fuck a lot, right?
Right.
Have kids, but you know what the fear is based upon? That if they were to get into a position and treat their former people the same way that they were treated, it's a guilt-based fear about like if these other people, like the Chinese hordes, it's called the yellow hordes. It's been in Europe forever since the Mongolians invaded. If these people ever get into a position to treat us the way that we've treated them, then we're fucking dead. So that's what propels racism.
Oh yeah, just the status quo.
No, it's actually a really weird, twisted, guilt-based thing. It's like, oh my God, right? If this person ever gets a chance to do what we've done to them, we are fucked. There will be no mercy. We'll be dead.
Right. Well, yeah, it's fear.
That's why we have so much. That's why we have so many problems trying to eliminate this stuff forever.
Mm-hmm.
The racism thing, because in so many people's minds across the planet, they're like, man, payback. If that ever happens, then we're fucked or whatever. I'm just explaining it. I'm not telling you my point of view. I'm telling you my understanding. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's one way of looking at it. I mean, sure. Yeah, I felt that way. Yeah,
well, they feel it. They feel that fucking way right now in London over the riots. They can't talk about it. They're just like, oh my God. The one guy on the TV was just like, this is all black.
Anyone can say their hair color is less damaging. Natural instincts can prove it. And they did. It's the only hair color that's clinically proven to be less damaging.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we live in a really fucked up world, that I don't know.
Yeah, that thing, it's always been fucked up. It's like, it's not like...
Well, you got to understand, it stands to reason that it's more fucked up now because there's more people.
Right. It's the depth of the fucked upness is getting deeper. Sure. I don't know, though. Human nature doesn't change. People suffer the same kind of, suffering. It's not...
That's what...
It's not any different. Now, people that are suffering now, it's no different than people suffered, 2,000 years ago. There's always been...
I am an artist and the mother of 3 beautiful girls. I believe that my very best painting will never compare to the satisfaction I get being a mother. My name is Cassandra Barney, and I'm a Mormon.
No, it's not any of the other rules or anything else.
Right, I mean, that's the essential teaching of, Buddhism, and as far as, yeah, sure.
There you go. So as long as you remember that, you'll be okay. See,
you're right.
You got to keep focused on what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's the whole idealism and the feels like thing that gets everybody screwed up. Then there's the morals versus the dogma.
Yeah, but, I wonder how much of that is like, the religious message gets used to kind of placate the masses. And what you just said, it rings true, but it also could be a way to disengage people from social change. And when you start saying that, all it really matters is your own, your soul, or take care of your own soul.
As we get more intelligent, it gets crazier and crazier, because how are we to expect that we want the same, that other people want the same things as we want in the same way?
Right.
It gets so weird.
Interesting is that most religious teachers never get involved with politics.
Well, politics imply policy, and that in itself is a politic. Like a spiritual teacher, his policy is to maybe concern himself with matters of the spirit,
right?
And less with.
If you to try to ask Mayor Baba about what he thought about the Chinese crisis, he'd be like,
No, but he actually cared a lot, and because
during they don't tend to comment.
He commented a lot during World War II. There's a thing called masts in India, and they're basically like your retarded type person, right? They're like autistic or retardation and all these different things. These people, they're treated like holy people that are trapped. Their spirits trapped in a body that can't really function on the normal way. They're called masts.
Okay.
Well, he put a tag for each country on one of these guys, and had like for all of Europe and the USA, each one represented a country, and had them all in this room interacting with each other, and used them as a divination thing to see how World War II would play out. And then he nailed it. He said, "This is exactly what's going to happen." Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't...
Like he was reading tea leaves, but he used human beings, right?
Right.
These people with this interesting, mental conditions outwardly, like autistic people. He had them all interacting, and one would be Germany, and one would be America, and one would be France, in a room. And he just watched them for a whole day. And then he wrote down, he's like, okay, it's like divination. Pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
As they're fighting each other and stuff, and just like for the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Bala. I love that guy.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So what should we get? Looking at the chat room, should we get back to some music or something?
Yeah, some music. I got to go out and get a new crib. My baby cracked through his crib last night.
MTV Cribs for real babies.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
Yeah. Let's listen to some music. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Just visiting.